Ovaj program donosi Volkal, najbolja formula za gume.
Hello everybody and welcome to Grobnik and welcome to the Tcr Dsg Europe series, and we have got a brilliant race on the way. 2 hours of action with somewhat of a minimised grid, but that won't take away from the battles that will commence here in Croatia. The drivers are currently heading round onto the circuit, getting some tyres, getting the tyres up to temperature, and then from there they will be able to return to the grid, get ready to get underway. Of course, we are here at Grobnik. The calendar has been full of action throughout the season. Of course, we went to Monza on the 30th of May, then we went to Misano, and now we are here in Croatia for Grobnik round, and then of course 2 more Italian rounds as the season wears on. So you can see the circuit is quite a unique circuit in regards to what you may usually be used to. 4.16 kilometers, just under 2.6 miles, very quick as well. There's no real chicanes or anything like that. All of the corners lead quite nicely into one another, so you've got that long back straight after the S's, which is probably the best overtaking opportunity. A very heavy braking zone into turns 1 and 2. Another very good overtaking opportunity, very heavy on the brakes into there, but there's no real opportunities for anything else elsewhere around the circuit. You've got to be so careful where you set the car up for these overtakes, because it's a very fast, very flowing and very physical circuit as well. So you've got to make sure you are ready to get any moves done prior to going for the lunge. You can see all the drivers just going out, getting some temperature into the tyres. The number 64 machine there, the Elite Motorsport VW Golf GTI, having its windscreen wipers on there. So that will be Gabriele Volpato, just with his windscreen wipers on. And we will very shortly have... there we go, so we've got the preview of Monza. So all the cars diving in towards turn one. The number 6 machine, the Tcr Sport Audi RS3, leading the way in towards the chicane, and you can see it's so difficult just to size the cars up. And by the time everybody arrived, the BF Motorsport Cupra TCR had to go for a quick run through the Armco barrier and then in towards turn one once again here at Monza. You can see the Audi RS3 somewhat dominating the field. It's just very, very easy to get those cars set up for Monza. I'm sure the longer wheelbase does help through the slightly twistier sections of the circuit. Then we saw a retirement. I think that's the Elite Motorsport machine, the number 15 VW Golf GTI TCR. And up on to the flatbed it went, but the battles continue to rage on. Up to Ascari they went. It was still the Tcr Sport Audi RS3 trying to hold on the inside, but no match. The HC Racing sister RS3 managed to work its way through, and they still battled once again, heading in towards turn one again. Still nose to tail. This time, the HC Racing machine couldn't quite get the car slowed down in time. Straight over the rumble strip they went, and then they had to trade places. So then we head over to Misano, and the start was as close as ever. Once again, the Audi RS3 being somewhat dominant in qualifying, but no match for the VW around the outside. Very, very tricky circuit is Misano, and as we saw, very big hit in the wall for the BF Motorsport Cupra, and that car was brought into retirement. Of course, hoping the driver was okay at this point, the very efficient marshals and safety crew came over and got everything sorted. You can see the 6 engineers, number 20 Cupra TCR in the pit lane, getting tyres changed at the midpoint in the race, getting ready to head back out for another stint after a quick driver change. So Alessandro Burton getting out, Andre Tronconi getting in, and there you can see it was eventually the number 64 machine that on. Pardon me, it was the yes, it was the number 64 machine that eventually came out on top. And the podiums were readied, trophies were gifted, and that brought an end to the weekend at Misano. So number 15 was the car that took the win, the Elite Motorsport VW Golf GTI, and hoping for something similar here this weekend. Of course, we've got the number 64 sister Elite Motorsport VW Golf on pole position, with one of the Audi RS3s alongside the Tcr Sport Audi RS3. That will be in the hands of Jonathan Giacon. He will be starting on pole position. We do have an interview down on the grid, so let's head down to the grid and listen to what the drivers have to say.
Welcome to the grid of the Tcr Dsg Europe, third round of the season. Yesterday we witnessed an absolutely thrilling qualifying which resulted in the grid that we are witnessing today. I'm here next to the pole sitters, the Elite Motorsport duo, Gabriele Volpato and Marco Butti, the fastest 2 men at the end of yesterday's qualifying session in the combined results. I'm going to interview Volpato, who is actually starting the race. Gabriele, absolutely thrilling qualifying yesterday. You said on social media that you're not hoping for rain. Tell us why.
Yeah, I hope to maintain the position first of all. And I hope for a dry race, because I hope to have a great pace, and we have a great strategy for the dry race. If it's wet, I hope to have luck, and that's all. We'll see.
Thank you, Gabriele. We are moving on to the second crew on the grid, Tcr Sport. We have a trio, a family trio, Giacon brothers and Luca Rangoni. We are here next to Steven Giacon. Jonathan is actually starting the race. I'm going to interview them in Italian. Jonathan, sei pronto?
Sì, siamo pronti e dobbiamo portare a casa punti per il campionato. E oggi il meteo è così così. Speriamo, perché è lunga, sono 2 ore di gara, quindi tutto può succedere.
Everything can happen. Jonathan said that the weather is actually unsure, but he will do his best also because they're first in the championship, so it's going to be tricky. Yesterday they mentioned that tire degradation is going to be an issue here at Grobnik. The same thing was said by the third crew on the grid. We're moving on to them as well. We have an unusual pairing and very prestigious actually. Simone Patrinicola is going to start the race. Luigi Moccia will be on driving duties after him. Simone, it was not a perfect qualifying, but you can still build on that.
Yeah, we can actually work on that. The race is gonna be really tricky because it's supposed to rain already, but it's not, so maybe weather condition will change during the race, so we'll see. We have 2 hours.
Thank you. How about tire degradation?
I didn't...
Tire degradation, is it going to be high today?
Yeah, actually, yes, I didn't hear you. I cannot hear you, but yeah.
But tire degradation, it's going to be an issue on the tires.
Yeah, it's gonna be like quite tricky, as I said earlier, because you know, we didn't expect to be already dry, so the thing is gonna be that we have to manage it well, and if the rain is gonna come, we have to be ready to change the strategy fast, quickly.
Thank you, Simone, and good luck. Back to the studio.
Thank you very much. Down on the grid, a few interviews there with, of course, the top 3 lining up on the grid. And it's Jonathan Jacon that will be starting on the, in theory, on the front row. And it will be the inside for turn 1, but it will very quickly evolve to the outside for turn 2. So it almost goes somewhat against the usual order. So there is the current driver standing, so you can see the Jacon brothers, Jonathan and Stephen, for Technodom Sport, sat at the top end of affairs, both on 75 points. And then we get to the BF Motorsport pairing of Samuel Pisin and Romeo in second place. The championship is only going to really get closer as it stands. A lot of drivers on very similar points. The qualifying results are as followed. So Gabriele Volpato will line up on pole position with Jonathan Jacon alongside. Then it's Simon Patrinicola for HC Racing in third, followed by Cosimo Barberini for NOS. Then it's Eric Brigladori in fifth, and the rest of the grid is made up of only a few more cars. Of course, we've got Ramon Terzic in seventh place as well. So there's a few drivers which aren't really separated by too much in regards to lap times. So we'll have to keep an eye out on those drivers just to see whereabouts they line up on the grid. We've got an onboard camera with the number 65 machine, or 64, pardon me. Gabriele Volpato will be starting that car. Of course, starting on pole position, you've got to make sure you nail the start and you get the car comfortably through turn 1. So final checks being made, and the engines will very shortly start to strike their way into life. Of course, being here at Grobnik, it's a circuit, like I say, very unique. Some of you may not have heard of it. It's a circuit that's seen its fair share of motorsport over the years. Opened in 1978, plays host to the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series, MotoGP, the Sidecar World Championship of all things, and of course the FIA Central European Formula 3 Series also come here as well. So up in the mountains, it can be quite windy. The drivers head out on their green flag warming up lap to get some final temperature into those tyres and those brakes. And the weather still being somewhat unpredictable. Of course, a lot of the drivers expecting it to be raining already, and it has remained dry, so we could see potential strategy change mid-race if the heavens open and the rain does indeed start to pour. So the number 64 machine leading the field around. Gabriele Volpato with a very healthy qualifying margin over everybody else. So heading through now what is turn 5 and 6. I think turn 6 could be one of those corners where we could see a few overtakes throughout the race. There are a couple of differing lines. You can take the slightly lower line, which of course is the quicker way in, but the slightly slower way out. And then on the exit, it's if you take the high line, you can be slightly slower on the way in, but cut down and carry that momentum on the exit. And momentum around here really is important. Of course, these cars not with massive power bands, a lot of them turbocharged, so towards the bottom end, the acceleration isn't brilliant. But as soon as you get in towards the power band where the turbocharger starts to kick in, they can then proceed to accelerate out of the corners. So keeping the car in full boost really is important. The Porsche 922 safety car just working its way through turns 9, 10 and 11. This is where I think we could see a little bit of side-by-side action if the drivers are brave enough, riding on board with the number 22 machine, the HC Racing. And the driver starting that car is Simon Pantalini-Cola. Looking forward now, you can see the number 6 Tcr Sport Audi RS3 just sat in front. In a few moments' time, we will be going racing for 2 hours here at Grobnik. Round 3 of the championship, and TSG Europe, TCR Dsg Europe, still with 2 more races to go after this weekend as well. So in a few moments' time, the race will be getting underway, and we will start to see those battles commence. Tcr on pole position, BF Motorsport, their second team, sat there in second place. Elite Motorsport have HC Racing for company on row 2 of the grid. And in a few moments' time, we will start to get underway. The Porsche backing everybody up, and then it's all down to that number 6 machine to hold the field back. The number 64 machine, sorry, just to hold the field back. Gabriele Volpato will control that pace from the outside. The pace car will pull in towards the right-hand side in a few moments' time. And the third round of TCR Dsg Europe here from Grobnik in Croatia, currently being led by Volpato, is underway. It's a good start from everybody towards the back of the grid. You can see them jinking out already, looking to make the most of their good starts. They're already somewhat 3, maybe 4 wide in towards turn 1. It's a great start. Round the outside goes Jonathan Jacon. He does manage to take the lead round the outside, the long way around of Gabriele Volpato. So it's Jonathan Jacon in the lead. As it stands, it's a good start from himself. It's all nose to tail further back. So Jacon leading ahead of Volpato. He's under pressure from the car behind. It's very tight between the pair of them. A little bit of contact there, I think, between himself and the number 7 BF Motorsport machine. It's a very good start from that number 7. Trying to figure out where he started. Started in 6th place, did Eric Brigliadori. And he's already slowly started to build up that gap. 3 wide in the background, potentially a little mistake from the BF Motorsport number 69 machine. So it's allowed everybody to work their way past. And as it stands, it's still Jonathan Jacon leading the way, with Volpato following suit. And then we get back to the number 7 machine of Brigliadori. Just sat behind 3 for the lead as it stands, so the top 3 far from settled, still battling away. The first lap will be ticked in the books, so 2.6 miles worth of circuit completed. They crossed the line again. It was a very good run out of the final corner for Eric Brigliadori, potentially sizing up a move on Gabriele Volpato in towards turn 1 out. They still remain as is. A big look up the inside, forces the door open there, does Brigliadori. Can't quite get the move done. And they're still nose to tail. All this battling is allowing Jonathan Jacon just to work his way away into the distance build-up. So as it stands, they've really got to almost focus on not battling each other at this point and taking time out of the Tcr Audi RS3 up at the head of affairs. So it's still Jonathan Jacon leading the way, with the number 64 of Gabriele Volpato just behind. The attentions of Eric Brigliadori have been swapped from behind him purely to in front of him now, working forward. And it looks like the number 33 machine, we've got a great onboard camera here looking forward. And it's the number 33 machine, the NOS New Old Speedy car. Just sat trying to catch on to the cars in front. Number 33 is in the hands of Cosimo. And heading through turn 15, the attentions are all back up to the front because that lead gap has really started to dissipate now. Gabriele Volpato looking to work his way forward back in towards that lead. So of course Jonathan Jacon managed to take the lead on the first lap of the race. Across the line they go once again. Gabriele Volpato in towards turn 3, or turn 2, has lost a bit of time in front and lost a bit of time behind as well. So Eric Brigliadori still sat there trying to work his way into second place. Cosimo Barberini just sat behind, not too far adrift. Keep an eye on him. Another big look up the inside, but there is the differing lines coming into play, as I mentioned earlier on. The number 33 machine managing to just about keep in touch with the cars in front, trying to fend off any attentions from the car behind. Raymond Tursek in the BF Motorsport number 69 Cupra TCR. So through the tight twisty sector 2 they go, then through turns 13, over 14, and then down the back straight they go. The Audi RS3s tend to have the legs on the straight, so we could see that lead gap extending. There we go. So it's still Jonathan Giacon pulling away, but under ever more pressure. A big look up the inside now, had to jump on the brakes, did Gabriele Volpato, just to avoid any sort of contact with the car in front. Of course, that's now lost him a load of time going on to the start-finish straight, and we know how quick the Audi RS3s are down the straight. So Eric Brigliadori could be sizing up a move in towards turns 1 and 2. You can see in the background they're side by side once again. So Cosimo Barberini under pressure now from the car behind. It's the BF Motorsport number 69 machine that's managed to work his way through. So Roman Tursek has worked his way into 4th place now, because Cosimo Barberini couldn't really fend off those attacks from behind. And once again, later on the brakes, a big look up the inside now from the number 64 machine. Gabriele Volpato desperate to work his way past. Riding on board a little further back down the order, but we can still see that lead gap is really starting to close up. It's still Jonathan Giacon, with Gabriele Volpato just sat behind. And then the number 7 of Eric Brigliadori just holding on in 3rd place. You can see the battle is very much ebbing and flowing between them. Nothing really to pick between the top 3. They've both got their various strengths and weaknesses around the circuit. You can see the BF Motorsport Cupra of Raymond Tursek has extended that margin away from Cosimo Barberini behind. That lead gap really closing up again. It seems like the Volkswagens are much stronger on the brakes. Already under even more pressure is Cosimo Barberini from the car behind. Couldn't quite pick out who that was at the time. It could have potentially been the number 22 machine of Simon Patrini-Cola. Started on the 2nd row of the grid and has found himself right the way down the order. So Simone evidently not too happy with that one. Back up to the lead battle. We have had the change for the lead while I was looking over at the timing screen. So the number 64 has worked his way into the lead. Gabriele Volpato has worked his way past the car of Jonathan Giacon. Still in 3rd place, however, watching all this battle in front of him is Eric Brigliadori. Not too much he can do in the way of working his way forward as of yet. More or less just got to wait for the battle in front to slow each other down at this point. But at the moment, the pole sitter back into the lead. So even though there was quite the gap when it came to qualifying, when it comes to the race and they're all nose to tail battling away, it does mean that back into the lead is the number 64 of Gabriele Volpato. Riding on board now with the number 22 machine, the HC Racing Audi RS3, still battling away with the new old speedy number 33 of Cosimo Barberini. The lead gap slowly extending now. I think at this point Gabriele Volpato is just hoping that Eric Brigliadori and Jonathan Giacon battle away to the point where they start losing time and he can only extend his lead margin. Crossing the line once again. So onto lap 5 of the race, the lead gap 1.1 seconds. In the background, however, there's barely a tenth separating the Technodom Sport and BF Motorsport Audi RS3s. As the race continues to wear away, the number 69 of Raymond Tursek in hot pursuit. I'm sure later on in this race we could see a little bit of team tactics coming into play, allowing teammates to work together could bring you into some good fortune come the end of the race, but still extending that lead margin is Gabriele Volpato, doing what he can to work his way forward. Of course, Gabriele, one half of the winning crew at Misano, so he's already got that added to his resume. He competed in Time Attack Italia, Trofeo Abarth 500, and of course TCR Dsg, the Italian Championship in 2019. So he's already got plenty of time behind the wheel, a little bit behind a TCR car as well. So he knows what he's doing, and that's clearly showing now. You can see riding on board on the right-hand side of your screen is our leader of Volpato, really working forward now. 1.1 seconds was the gap last time through. He did set the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 32.626. So very good lap from himself. In the background, the battle's still raging away, but the battle for the final 2 steps on the podium slowly starting to open up. Across the line we go once again. 10 minutes of the race is gone. The Elite Motorsport number 64 machine, 1.1 seconds was the gap last time, 1.7 seconds the gap this time, and in the background you can see the 2nd and 3rd place cars, number 6 and number 7, one for Technodom Sport, one for BF Motorsport. They've opened up their gap as well. It's now around about half a second between the pair of them. The closest cars we've got on circuit, I think, are actually for 5th and 6th place. The number 33 of Cosimo Barberini coming under yet more pressure from Simone Pantalinicola. So as we look a little bit further back down the order, you can see the 6 engineers car somewhat out on its own. But through the centre section of the circuit we go. Of course, 6 engineers recently rebranded somewhat to Italia course. So the race continues to still wear away. No real intentions for position as of yet. They're slowly just working their way into a comfortable position where they can find some free air. Of course, I'm sure everybody wants to work their way up through the order, but a very tricky circuit, as we've previously mentioned, to overtake is Grobnik. You've more or less got to wait for the race to come to you. Strategy still something to think about. Last time through, fastest lap of the race was improved once again by our leader, 132.613 posted. Some 0.2 quicker than any car out on circuit at the moment. So crossing the line once again, heading on to lap 7 of the race. Still the number 64 of Gabriele Volpato leading the way. 2 seconds the gap to the car behind, and the gap between 2nd and 3rd has opened up as well. 0.7 of a second separating the pair of those two. And further back, all the gaps slowly starting to open up again. Italia, of course, struggling to keep in touch with the cars in front. So at this stage in the race, you've got to start really just monitoring the weather, because a lot of the drivers were expecting a wet race, or expecting it to at least already be raining. But with it not being, it can throw a spanner in the works for a few of these drivers, and obviously not expecting the rain means you've got to go out on that dry setup with those dry tyres, and if it starts to rain a little later on, you can really only do tyre pressure changes, get the wet tyres on, and then drive around the potential setup deficit to the other cars. It's a 2-hour race, so there's plenty of racing still to go. I'm sure we will see some new battles re-emerge as the race wears on. There is Simone Pantalinicola, losing a little bit of time to Cosimo Barberini up the road. That lead gap opening up a little bit more again. So Gabriele Volpato still extending that lead margin. Last time through was pretty much 2 seconds separating himself and 2nd place. The number 7 of Eric Brigliadori losing time once again. Crossing the line now, the gap was 2 seconds, and it will remain pretty much 2 seconds. Only 0.08 was the swap in time between the pair of them. Now almost a full second between 2nd and 3rd. So the gap's slowly starting to open up. Elsewhere on the circuit, the closest cars we've got probably are our drivers in 6th and 7th place, the number 22 HC racing machine of Simone Pantalinicola has lost enough time to the car in front, still just about within a second of Cosimo Barberini up the road. Cosimo Barberini born in 1990. He's the champion of the Trofeo Abarth after entering in an Abarth 695 Assetto Corsa Evo. He then won it once again in he won it in 2016, won it once again in 2017, and he took part in TCR Italy in a Seat Leon, also in 2017. So he's building up quite a nice racing portfolio. He's got some very credible seat time in TCRs, just not really going to him in this race. So Cosimo Barberini looking to work his way forward in that number 33 machine, riding on board with our leader, Gabriele Volpato. Through turn 15 we go. Has that lead gap come down once again? I would say it's probably about the same. We'll cross the line in a few moments' time, and the timing tower will update, and we'll be able to see just what the time between the pair of them is doing. So 2 seconds was the gap last time through. Cross the line once again, and the gap has come down 1.7 seconds this time. So the Technodom Sport number 6 machine in the hands of Jonathan Jacon is slowly reeling in our leader. Fastest lap of the race last time through for the number 69 machine, a 132.593, some 0.3 quicker than our race leader. So Raymond Tersic reeling in all of the cars in front. I think potentially the Elite Motorsport car up at the head of affairs in the hands of Gabriele Volpato. Maybe very good opening pace. Now the circuit is bedded in and the drivers are slowly starting to find their rhythm. It's taken 15 minutes. We could have seen a little bit of a mistake there though for Jonathan Jacon, because look how close Eric Brigliadori is behind now in his Audi RS3. Not too much to pick between the pair of them. The lead gap has definitely come out as well, so potentially a slight mistake there from the Technodom Sport Audi RS3 in second place. So with only 9 cars on the grid, there's definitely no shortage of action up and down the order. Plenty to watch, of course. And 2 hours worth of racing. Still 1 hour and 44 still to go. As it stands, it looks like the gap has definitely opened up. So last time through it was 1.787, the gap between the pair of them. They crossed the line, it's up to 2.2 seconds, so that gap has definitely come out. So you can see that there must have been some sort of mistake from the number 6 machine that allowed him to drop back. So Jonathan Jacon losing time to the car in front. There is Gabriele Volpato, knowing full well in his rearview mirror that car has got smaller, so should give him a bit more motivation to carry on working forward, building up that time as best he can. Going on to what is completing lap number 10 of the race now. 10 laps completed, 15 laps of, or 15 minutes of the race have now passed. There is the still number 64 machine leading the way, followed by a slightly slower at the moment Jonathan Jacon after what could have been a mistake. 2.261 was the gap last time we crossed the timing beam. This lap we'll get a better indication whether it was a mistake or a drop of pace, because if the gap has continued to come down, we know it is a drop of pace. If it was a mistake, it should have remained about the same. But I've got to say, it looks like it's maybe gone up once again, because the number 7 of Eric Brigliadori is definitely still there within touching distance, and then you can see the car just sat behind the number 69 machine, not too far adrift. They crossed the line, 2.7 seconds now the gap to the leader, so that gap is definitely coming out. And Jonathan Jacon still trying to do what he can to reel in the leader, but with that mistake and the definite drop of pace, he's got to be careful not to lose too much time to Eric Brigliadori. Last time through, leader has regained the fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 32.487, so good lap from himself. Definitely striking at the right point, knowing full well that the car behind is slightly slower. Getting the fastest lap once again will help. And as and when the driver changes come into effect, we'll keep an eye on the pit lane to see who is stepping in where. Of course, Gabriele Volpato will hand the car over to Marco Butti. There is the number 22 machine of Simone Pantrinicola. He will share the car with Luigi Machina on the run up towards turn 15. Very late on the brakes, the teammates go side by side, and that is the number 69 machine swapping over for third place. So Raymond Terzic has managed to work his way past his teammate into second place, and that has dropped Eric Brigliadori down into fourth place, pardon me. So there's trade for the final spot on the podium as it stands. Cosmino Barberini just sat behind. So Cosimo still with time to find. The lead gap last time through 3.3 seconds now, so still pulling away. At the front is Gabriele Volpato. And towards turn 5 we go, and the driver's still somewhat nose to tail. He's just finding that rhythm, finding that clean piece of tarmac. Potentially another little battle forming here for the final spot on the podium, because it's Raymond Terzic still sat there in third place, having picked off his teammate Eric Brigliadori on the lap prior, but Cosimo Barberini is sat there in fifth place, looking to work his way past the pair of them. Like I say, team tactics could potentially come into this, and waiting in the wings is Simone Pantrinicola, just sat behind as well, so it could be 4 cars for the final spot on the podium in the next few minutes. Still Gabriele Volpato leading the way, hard on the brakes, looking to the outside there was Cosimo Barberini, couldn't quite get the move done. You can see visually Simone Pantrinicola is getting closer to this battle as well, so slowing each other down, I think, are Eric Brigliadori and Cosimo Barberini. Crossing the line now to go on to lap number 13 of the race. The lead gap, it's saying, apparently the leaders have swapped around. I'm not 100% sure how that has happened. There we go, they've swapped around once again. So the 64 machine swapping around on the timing screen. We'll try and make sure we can keep up with that. So it says the number 7 is in the lead and the number 69 has dropped down. There we go, everybody has sorted themselves out once again. 3.1 seconds the lead gap. Elite Motorsport still leading the way. There's been no change there. So it's still Gabriele Volpato ahead of the number 6 machine of Jonathan Giacon, and then it's all go in the background. Somewhat saved by his teammate now is Raymond Terzic, because he's got Eric Brigliadori, his fellow BF Motorsport driver, in the Audi RS3 behind, somewhat hindering the improvements of Cosimo Barberini, who is going to come under pressure from Simone Pantrinicola. So there's a few names just throwing their hat in the ring, trying to make a few little insights in towards a position change. You can see the nose of the car dive down, the tail of the car dive towards, or jump towards the skies as they stamp on the brakes, trying to get the car slowed down desperately before turn 15. Very good overtaking opportunity if you're brave enough to outbrake another car there. Crossing the line once again, even closer than ever before is Cosimo Barberini. Has a little look to the inside. There wasn't an overlap there, there almost was. So in the next couple of laps, there's definitely a position change on the cards. So Eric Brigliadori under ever more pressure from Cosimo Barberini behind. You can see second place is slowly coming under pressure as well now. So the number 69 of Raymond Terzic slowly applying the pressure on Jonathan Giacon. Nearly half a second separating them last time they crossed the line. And of course in the background, the other BF Motorsport car is under threat of going backwards as it stands. Eric Brigliadori under pressure. This is the battle for second place. You can see the Technodom car is getting put under ever more pressure from Raymond Terzic. Onto the back straight they go once again. Still the nose to tail over turn 14 and the run up towards turn 15. A little look up the inside there for Raymond Terzic. I'm pretty sure he's alongside by the time they will arrive at turn 15. So we are now looking back at the battle for what is third place, or what is fourth place, pardon me. So try and get an update back on that lead battle, and they have indeed swapped places. So the 69 BF Motorsport Cupra of Raymond Tersic has worked his way into second place. Means Jonathan Jacon has been demoted down into third. So second place now for Raymond Tersic. In the background, there's still battling going on between the what is now 3-car train of Eric Brigliadori, still with Cosimo Barberini just sat behind, Simone Pantini-Cola just hanging on to the coattails of that battle. It's almost a 5-car train if they reel each other in, but I think now Raymond Tersic is in clean air. He's only going to push forward and potentially start taking time out of Gabriele Volpato's lead. So we're slowly seeing drivers getting pushed around in their various places, working their way in towards their race pace. You can see the number 6 now with Jonathan Giacon under pressure, potentially from the car behind. Eric Brigliadori is being ushered forward by Cosimo Barberini, who in turn has Simone Pantini-Cola in tow, pushing him through the backstage of the circuit. Almost half the race gone now. There is Gabriele Volpato, our race leader, through the final corner onto what will be lap number 16 of the race. Still leading the way. Crossing the line now, and the lead gap last time through was 4.7 seconds. They cross the line now, it is 4.4, so yes indeed, now Raymond Tersic is in that clean air. He can really start to push forward and slowly chip away at that lead margin. He's got all the cars behind waiting in the wings. Jonathan Giacon, of course, only really going backwards at this point. He's under pressure from Eric Brigliadori, who has got Cosimo Barberini for company, who is still under pressure from Simone Pantini-Cola. So all of the drivers still nose to tail. You can see third place is up for grabs now, as Raymond Tersic, the first of the BF Motorsport cars, has got by into the podium places. Now it seems like the second of the BF Motorsport cars, the Audi RS3 of Eric Brigliadori, looking to try and work his way in towards a podium place. He's got to try and find his way past Jonathan Giacon to a comfortable place. So with the cars being, was the same manufacturer, the same make, everything like that, they've got to be so closely matched, and it will have to be done on pure pace alone. I think potentially we could see a few changes in the pit lane with strategy a little later on, but of course if you can outbrake someone a couple of laps before you decide to dive for the pit lane, it might stand you in good stead. Or leaving the pit lane, it gives you a couple of seconds buffer before you decide to retake to the circuit. A big look up the inside there from Eric Brigliadori, slight outbraking from Jonathan Giacon, couldn't get the car slowed down, almost found his way towards the gravel. Looking very relaxed, very calm is Gabriele Volpato, just ticking the laps by, crossing the line now. Very good lap from himself. And the gap between our leader and the car behind, it says 1.6 seconds, but it seems like the timing can't quite keep up with these cars today. But Jonathan Giacon still just about hanging on to second place, still with Eric Brigliadori in tow, trying to push his way forward. Once again through turns 7, 8 and 9, a very quick section of the circuit we go. Really good camera angle, that one. You can just see the pure pace of the cars as they scream through the chicanes. Very quick chicane, there's not really any braking involved, just get the car set up for the very quick left, right, left. Heading towards the second of the slightly weavy section of the circuit. Over turn 14 we go. And then down towards turn 15, very heavy braking zone at turn 15. And looking up the inside there now is Eric Brigliadori. That will be for third place. Later on the brakes, grabs the apex. Jonathan Giacon left with very little to do in the way of defence. Looks for the cutback, however, almost gets enough momentum through the corner. But at the moment, it's now a BF Motorsport second and third place. So just a few laps ago, of course, we saw Raymond Tersic work his way past, but he's not going to take it lying down, is Jonathan Giacon. He's already trying to work his way back past unfortunately we have lost footage of that battle. There we go. As soon as we get back in towards turn 1 and turn 2, they have once again traded places. So it's still Jonathan Jacon and Eric Brigliadori second and third. We now know that they have the potential to swap places. It's just as and when they decide to do so. Another big look up the inside from Eric Brigliadori. Once again through the middle sector of the circuit, still nose to tail. Through now turns 10, 11 and 12, approaching turn 14, the very quick uphill left-hander before it sets you up for the straight. There is turn 13, over turn 14 we go. The gap to the leader last time through was 5.3 seconds, so all this battling for second place has lost them time to the leader. Still Jonathan Jacon in second place. We might have seen a mistake potentially for our leader, however, because you can see Gabriele Volpato is definitely closer to that battle. Cosimo Barberini in the number 33 machine has potentially worked his way forward as well. So crossing the line now goes our leader. The gap 5.1 seconds, so still quite a comfortable gap between himself and the cars behind. The number 15 machine, I think, is coming around to get a lap put over on himself. So that will be the sister Elite Motorsport car, so the leader has managed to work his way past his teammate. Through turn 6 we go, and hard on the brakes. It seems like after that first initial bite of the cherry, Eric Brigliadori couldn't quite keep that move, so he managed to get the position for a couple of corners, then he swapped places once again. So it's down to Eric Brigliadori, I think, at this point, just to pull out of that move and assess the situation once again, and then pick his point slightly more precisely this time, in such a way where he does keep that position. They've got to be careful though, because Cosimo Barberini is just sat behind. Not too much in the way of attack. You can see the BF Motorsport car just up the road of Roman Sursic. So they're battling away on the circuit, but in the pit lane we have an interview, so down to the pit lane.
We're back in the pit lane to gather some feelings and impressions from the drivers. I'm here with NOS's Gabriele Giorgi, the returning driver pairing up with Cosimo Barberini. He's back after an injury which prevented him from starting the season on track. Gabriele, com'è stato il tuo ritorno dopo 2 round di pausa forzata?
Sono emozionatissimo, infatti non riesco nemmeno a dire 2 parole in inglese e ora fra 10 minuti c'è il mio stint, spero che c'è tanta bagarre, insomma spero di magari non trovare traffico e provare magari ad andare un po' via e recuperare un po' di gap. Ci provo anche se la pista è nuova per me, ma ce la metterò tutta come sempre.
He will try and close the gap even though the track is new for him. It is good to be back, and he's so elated and happy to be back that he cannot actually answer properly in English, so this is why he's here speaking in Italian. He's hoping for a great battle since he's currently in 4th place, and we're actually feeling that it's starting to rain right now. So how is your feeling regarding the rain in the race?
L'anno scorso ho corso sempre con le gomme da bagnato, quindi a me piace correre sotto l'acqua, però bisogna vedere da pista a pista, le traiettorie cambiano, quindi comunque speriamo bene, dai, speriamo.
Thank you. It will be a bit of a lottery because he was actually used to racing in the wet, but this track is new. He hopefully wants to guess all the right trajectories, even though the track is pretty much unknown for him. They had some problems yesterday in free practices, then there was a really good exploit during qualifying. Speaking about qualifying, yesterday were you expecting to be that quick? And
No, sono molto contento perché appunto non conoscendo la pista, imparando la pista, sono molto soddisfatto, infatti insomma, siamo partiti in full, quindi insomma sono contento, però la gara
the race is going to be a whole different story compared to qualifying, but obviously he's satisfied and happy with the result he got yesterday in qualifying. Thank you, back to the studio, and I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you very much down in the pit lane. Great to hear from the drivers. Of course, that was Gabriele Volpato, the second driver of the number 33 machine. You can see that new old speedy car currently in the hands of Cosimo Barberini, the VW Golf GTI, just sat behind this battle. So it's still Jonathan Jacon sat there in second place, with Eric Brigliadori just sat behind. Sorry, it's Jonathan Jacon in third place, with Eric Brigliadori in fourth. Then we get back to Cosimo Barberini in fifth place. Quite the sizable gap to the cars behind now. Still up at the head of affairs is the number 64 of Gabriele Volpato. That lead gap 4.5 seconds as it stands over Raymond Tersic, who has still been working forward. You can see that is Cosimo Barberini getting closer and closer and closer to that overtake. That won't help though. All over the grass he goes and loses stacks of time to the car in front. Loses time to Simone Pantalinicola, just sat behind as well. So there's not too much to pick between them. All this going on has allowed Eric Brigliadori just to pull away a little bit. There is Simone Pantalinicola. Into the pit lane does come Eric Brigliadori. He will be handing over to Samuel Bishin. So in the pit lane we go. And the various seat inserts applied. And then into the car clambers Samuel. And it's just all down to how quickly the team can get various bits changed on the car. And of course, we've been racing for around about 35 minutes, so we could see yet more changes from the other drivers. And we're hearing that, yeah, the rain is slowly starting to fall at various parts of the circuit. It looks like yet more slick tyres going on that car. So just waiting for the drivers to trade seat inserts, get one out, one in, and Samuel just getting strapped in by Eric Brigliadori. And as everybody's just working away on the car, of course the battle's still going on out on circuit, so now the number 7 machine has pulled into the pit lane. It does mean that we have seen the change of position for third place. So Cosimo Barberini will inherit third place. Inheriting what will be fourth place will be that number 22 machine we're looking at now of Simone Pantalinicola. So as the race continues to wear away, 23 laps completed. There is the number 6 machine into the pit lane, so Jonathan Jacon coming in. More tyres being put on that car. Are we seeing a change of driver? Yes, we are, I do believe. So getting strapped in is one of our drivers. I can't quite pick out by the helmet who that is clambering in. It could be Steve Jacon. We'll find out in a few moments' time as and when we get the update available to us. So safety netting being put in. Jonathan Jacon has indeed clambered out of the car. And now it's just final pressure changes, pressure checks, getting ready potentially to predict that wet weather. We are now seeing a battle a little bit further back. This is between the number 15 machine for Elite Motorsport. Behind the wheel of that car, I think, is Filippo Bensivini. We'll have a quick look just to see whether it is 100%. So it's the number 15 machine. It is, in fact, Rodolfo Massaro behind the wheel of that car. So Rodolfo slowly applying the pressure onto the car in front. It's just working away at each other now. And then it's the second of the NOS cars, the new old speedy machines, just sat in front. Number 17 behind the wheel of that car will be Nicolo Loya. Nicola Loya coming under a little bit more pressure as the race proceeds to go on. has no experience of professional racing, does Nicola Loya, but he's doing a great job behind the wheel of that NASCAR. He has got experience with the team. He raced in the 24 Hours of Adria in 2019 with New Old Speedy, so definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to endurance racing. So Nicola Loya under a little bit more pressure from Rodolfo Massaro. Just behind there is our race leader of Gabriele Volpato. As and when he decides to take that car into the pit lane, he will hand over to his teammate Marco Butti. Through the final corner we go, and onto another lap of the race. So 25 laps of racing will be completed. Drivers still out and circulating. Try and figure out who got behind the wheel of that number 6 machine. Because of course Jonathan Jacon handed over, I think potentially to Stephen Jacon, but it could also be Luca Rangioni. We will find out in a few moments' time. You can see rain on the camera lens there. That's at turn 6, so sort of like the Nürburgring, you can see differing conditions. Puffs of brake dust from the front of that number 15 machine. So Rodolfo Massaro getting out of the car, handing over to his teammate Filippo Bensivini. Clambers in and gets the belts done up appropriately. And you can tell the new rubber going on. Slight issue on that front left-hand side. Mechanics assisting. There you go. Tyres, wheels and tyres on. And drivers still out and circulating. So it is Stephen Jacon behind the wheel of the number 6 machine. So the Technodom Sport car, currently down in 8th place, is now handed over from Jonathan Jacon to his brother Stephen Jacon. Big hole in the windscreen there for the number 15 machine. Filippo Bensivini will have to drive around that, potentially being kicked up from another car. A piece of gravel has just connected with the windscreen at such speed it's quite substantially damaged, that windscreen. Now brilliant circuit staff and marshals making sure the pit lane is conducted safely, so a massive thank you to those guys as well. We really wouldn't be able to do it without you. We do have an interview down in the pit lane, so down there.
I'm here with Eric Brigliadori, BF Motorsports driver, who has completed his first stint. Eric, it was a tremendous start and a very fiery battle with the first two drivers.
Yeah, we did a good stint. We had a small problem with the car, so it's not easy to follow the other drivers. But the race is long, now Samuele is on track. Let's see what we can do.
What about rain? It's starting to get heavier now.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think in 10-15 minutes will rain heavily, so we'll see.
What did you tell Samuele when he got into the car?
Nothing. We haven't time, so I helped him and he goes.
Thank you so much, Eric.
Thank you, Beatrice, down in the pit lane. Great to hear from Eric Brigliadori. Of course, he's recently got out that car, handed over to Samuel Pichin. There is the number 17 machine. Nicola Loya still out and circulating. So after all is said and done, I think once drivers come into the pit lane and decide where their strategy is going to go for the rest of the race, I think the number 64 machine just sat biding his time. So Gabriele Volpato still yet to pit. So too is the number 69 VF Motorsport car of Raymond Tursig, still sat in second place. I think we do have, I was about to say, yeah, we do have the Cosimo Barberini NOS car in the pit lane, so it'll be Cosimo Barberini getting out. Gabriele Giorgi, after just speaking to him a little earlier on, clambering into that car, getting ready to take to the Grobnik circuit and continue on at this latter stage of the race. So far, 42 minutes, best part of 43 minutes of the race has been completed. Mechanics just doing their quick checks before they send the car out. And in a few moments' time, hopefully, they will retake to the circuit. A little bit of confusion there down in the pit lane. but it's still our leader of Gabriele Volpato out and circulating. Still with the number 69 machine of Raymond Tersic, not too far behind. You can just see him in the back of shot there. 4.2 seconds the lead gap now, so it's definitely coming down, not quite as much as I think Raymond Tersic would like. There is the number 15 machine for Elite, or the number 17 machine I should say, for New Old Speedy, crossing through the middle sector of the circuit. There is our leader once again through turns 1 and 2 he goes. 28 laps of the race completed. And it's just really smooth sailing at this point. I think waiting until you get to around about the halfway point before you hand over to your second driver. Nicola Lawyer still behind the wheel of that NOS car, just biding his time as well. Still a few cars yet to pit. The number 22 as well for HC Racing. Simone Panterini Cola, I think, still yet to pit as well. Yeah, he is on lap 28, so still needs to come into the pits and hand over to Luigi Moccia. And that lead gap is definitely coming down. So the number 69 BF Motorsport car definitely getting closer. Raymond Tersic slowly starting to apply the pressure to the car in front. At this stage in the race, not that much will happen. You can see 1 hour and 15 minutes of the race remaining. So almost at the halfway point now. That number 64 machine really dominating up at the head of affairs, but slowly losing time. You could hear the brakes squealing from Raymond Tersic's BF Motorsport Cupra. So evidently getting every ounce of performance he can out of that car. Last time they crossed the line, 3.1 seconds was the difference. They crossed the line once again. I think the lead gap will come down yet again. 2.5 seconds now. So we could see a change for the lead before we see the pit stops. If I were Raymond Tersic, I would catch up as close as I can get, but then pull into the pit lane just before I start losing time. Of course, the last thing you want to do is lose time behind the car in front. So I'm sure in a few moments' time we will potentially start to see a few drivers show their hand when it comes round to strategy. Raymond Tersic rapidly closing up to the leader. So of course, like I say, you would just pit just before you start to lose any time to the car in front. So the last thing we want to see them, I mean, it's great to see them nose to tail battling away, but I've got a feeling BF Motorsport will know exactly what they want to do with strategy. Potential rain on the way still. I think it's still very fine out towards the latter stages of the circuit, so no need for wet tyres. Nowhere near that sort of level as of yet. Still looks very dry, does the circuit. See the crowd still watching along. He's coming out of the final corner. Hard on the brakes goes the number 64 machine, our leader. And then Raymond Tersic once again squealing brakes in towards the final corner. And the lead gap last time was 2.5 seconds. Keep an eye on these cars to see which one's going to pull into the pit lane first. I don't think we will see the car behind. No, we won't. So we will have a change for the lead. So the number 64 machine of Gabriele Volpato into the pit lane to hand over to Marco Butti. And then Raymond Tersic will continue out before he starts to pull into the pit lane. Of course, now he has clean air, he can continue on at that rapid pace that he is before he hands over to his teammate Paolo Palanti. So out of the car clambers Gabriele Volpato, and then back in goes Marco Butti. Belts suitably placed over the hands device, making sure everything fits perfectly and of course safely. Then it will be time to get that car back out and circulating. So at the moment that car does have the fastest lap of the race, so 1 minute 32.487, only 0.04 of a second quicker than our current race leader of Raymond Tersic. So retaking to the circuit is the number 24 machine. Marco Butti now behind the wheel. Crossing the line there goes the number 7 machine of Samuel Pichin. So I think we could have seen a change of position for second place as well if our leader was losing that much time. But Pichin with evidently quite a good opening stint, retaking to the circuit. There is our new leader, Raymond Tersic, presumably into the pit lane in a few moments' time. He does continue on as it stands, so 48 minutes of the race completed, on to lap number 31 of the race. The lead gap will massively have opened up, of course, with him being one of the only drivers still yet to pit. But there is the number 33 of Gabriele Giorgi. And the race is slowly starting to settle down once again. As soon as we start seeing drivers pull into the pit lane and drivers that still are yet to pit come into the pit lane, that is when we'll start to see the changes for position once again, and the battles slowly start to commence. Rodolfo Massaro behind the wheel there. You can still see sat stationary in the pit lane is Marco Butti, number 22 of Simone Pantrini-Nicola, and Luigi Moccia out and circulating. I think Luigi is now behind the wheel of that car. There is the number 17 for New World Speedy, so it will be Nicolo Loya getting out of that car, and then into the car will go Francesco Lacino. So into the car he clambers, and once again the same drill, make sure the belts are over the hands device, everything fits suitably and safely, and then they'll be able to send that car back out to continue on. We'll keep an eye on our leader to see when the number 69 machine pulls into the pit lane, so when Raymond Tersic decides to pull into the pit lane to hand over to his teammate Paolo Palanti. New tyres going on once again. You can see the brakes steaming, the amount of work that is being put into them. Through the middle sector goes our leader. We've got battles commencing here, there and everywhere throughout the circuit. Through turn 6 we go. The leader still just pushing forward. Raymond Tersic, no real pressure from anywhere at the moment. I think the number 22 still to pit as well, because it says he's sat in second place, and the 17 currently in the pit lane. So after all is said and done, give it about 10 minutes, we will know exactly where people are in regards to whether they have or haven't lost places in the pit lane. With a brake fire, very slight brake fire, is the number 22 machine of Luigi Moccia, who will very briefly be getting into that car. You can see the mechanics drawing attention to those brakes, and I did say the brakes were definitely being worked here. Turn 15, very heavy braking zone, so the brakes will massively be up to temperature just before you come into the pit lane, so they won't be getting any cool air coming into them to cool them down. There you can see that is Stephen Giacon under pressure now from Gabriele Giorgi, just sat behind, and then they have the Italia Corse car just sat behind, the number 20, I think a lap down at this point, however. So still continuing on are all of our drivers now. Brilliant to see we haven't had any heavy contact between drivers. I'm sure there's been a little bit of door-to-door contact, but nothing too serious of note. So it's nice to see everybody still out and circulating, getting closer towards that 1 hour mark now. 51.5 minutes completed of racing, 33 laps for our leader. Still the fastest lap of the race is being held by the number 64 of what was at the time Gabriele Volpato, when he set the 1 minute 32.487. Now in the hands of Marco Butti. On the run up towards turn 15, a little look up the inside there from Gabriele Giorgi, seeing whether he can work his way past Stephen Giacon. Of course, the number 6 Audi RS3 leading this little battle will have to pit once again, hand over to Luca Raggioni, or Luca Ragoni, sorry. In the line once again, now on to lap number 33. I do believe we have our leader in the pit lane, the number 69 machine, the BF Motorsport car of what was Raymond Tersic. There it is in the pit lane. Will be handed over to Paolo Palanti, who will be getting in that car now, getting comfortable, and then the car will be sent back out in just a few moments' time. Making sure everything is all set and ready before that car retakes to the circuit. Steering wheel put on, and tyres looks like they've already been changed, so very quick work from from the mechanics. Brakes being called, obviously make sure we've got some cool air into the radiators, and we don't want any further brake fires, so retaking to the circuit in a few moments time. In fact, now goes the number 69 machine. A very quick pit stop from BF Motorsport. So Paolo Palanti taking over that Cupra TCR car. There is the number 64 machine on the exit of the final corner. It could be fairly close. Of course, the number 69 car has to get temperature into those tyres. So we could potentially see Marco Butti slowly start to reel in the BF Motorsport Cupra. In the background you can see what is the battle for the final spot on the podium. Stephen Chacon, and he is under pressure from Gabriele Giorgi. We are going to go down to the pit lane, so down to you, Beatrice.
Gabriele Volpato from the leading crew of the race, except for the start where you got overtaken by Chacon. Everything was kind of smooth sailing, right?
Yeah, I did a little mistake at the start, but we have a great pace and I was able to overtake and take the lead. Now we are lucky because we have a dry race, and so it all depends by the weather.
You said that you were hoping, obviously, for a dry race because you had a good feeling with a dry setup, so everything is going actually according to plan. But what if it rains?
I don't know. We'll see. It depends when it rains. At the beginning of the second stint or at the end. So it depends. We'll see.
What was it like with the tires? Any important degradation?
No, the tires was good until the end. So the pace was constant for all the stint, so I'm happy.
Thank you, Gabriele. Back to the studio.
So sorry about that, just had a slight technical issue on my side, so thank you very much, Beatrice, for the interview down in the pit lane. Quick word with Gabriele Volpato, our previous leader for quite a substantial amount of the race indeed. You can see the battle still working away. Stephen Chacon under pressure now from Gabriele Giorgi. Both of them still nose to tail. Of course, this will be the battle for, in theory, third place. We've still got the number 20 Italia Course Cupra out and circulating. Once that pulls into the pit lane and the driver change has taken place, everybody will slowly work their way back into the order. So Raymond Tersic, I think it's actually now Paolo Palanti behind the wheel of that number 69 machine, still in theory inherits that lead ahead of the number 22 of Luigi Moccia. And then we get back to the number 64 riding on board with now. You can see on the right hand side of your screen, that is Marco Butti working away at the wheel, doing what he can to keep that car circulating. Then we get back to this battle of Stephen Chacon and the number 33 of Gabriele Giorgi. Onto the start-finish straight we go once again. So that will tick lap number 35 in the book. The fastest lap of the race has apparently been set by the number 64 machine, a 1:31.868, the only driver so far today to break into the 1 minute 31s. So Marco Butti really has got the bit between his teeth and is pushing forward, setting, like I say, the fastest lap of the race. We do have another interview, so back down to the pit lane.
I'm here with Nicolò Loia from NOS Motorsport. It was the first experience for him at the track and also in TCR Endurance Racing. Volevo sapere da te, Nicolò, com'è stata la tua primissima esperienza a Grobnik e anche in una gara di questo tipo.
Molto bella, esperienza fantastica, campionato molto bello, piloti veramente forti. La mia prima gara e ho fatto anche pochissimi giri con questa macchina, quindi sono molto contento e soddisfatto.
He's very satisfied with his first laps on this car. It is his first experience like this, but he's happy with the championship and also with the competitiveness level. One more thing, did you tell anything to Francesco when you got out of the car. A Francesco quando sei uscito dalla macchina?
Ho detto cerca di dare più gas possibile, tanto non abbiamo niente da perdere, quindi cerchiamo di fare il meglio.
He told Laschino when they switched positions to give full gas because they have actually nothing to lose, so they're going to give it all. Thank you. Back to the studio.
So a quick word there from one of our drivers. Great stuff. That was Nicola Loyo in the number 17 NOS car, the Volkswagen Golf GTI TCR. Still looking at this battle, working away. That is Gabriele Giorgi still piling the pressure on Stephen Jackon. He's been in that car for quite a substantial amount of time now, so he will be used to that car. He's been in the car a lot longer than Gabriele Giorgio. So still plenty of time to find. There is the number 22 machine. That is the HC Racing car, currently in the hands of Luigi Moccia. And then there is, in theory, what was our long-time race leader, the number 69 car of Paolo Palanti. And we're just waiting for the Italia course car to come into the pit lane. Very close to the hour now, 59 minutes of the race completed. There is our race leader, 3 laps ahead of everybody else, obviously because he hasn't been into the pit lane. So, still yet to pit. Andrea Tronconi behind the wheel of that Italia course Cupra. Into turn 15 goes number 69 car. On the exit of the final corner comes our race leader, in theory, of Marco Butti, with that fastest lap of the race still, a 1 minute 31.868, a very, very quick lap time indeed. Still waiting for the Italia course car to pull into the pit lane. We have ticked past the hour mark now, so we are over halfway, and it's still Marco Butti leading the way ahead of the BF Motorsport car behind. So Paolo Palanti has got a lot of time to make up if he really wants to work his way back into the lead of the race. Of course, we have seen that BF Motorsport Cupra leading. Into turns 1 and 2 we go. There is the number 7 machine of Samuel Pichin, of course taking over that car from Eric Brigliadori. So Pichin under pressure now from Luigi Moccia just behind. There's the leader, Andre Tronconi. Through turn 6 we go, waiting to get another view of that battle. They will appear from the right hand side of your screen, hopefully in a few moments time. There they are. So it's Samuel Pichin still piling, or trying to run away, I should say, from Luigi Moccia. So they're both nose to tail through the centre section of the circuit. So it's number 7 against number 22, which is for 6th place as it stands. So BF Motorsport versus HC Racing. Onto the back straight they go once again. Riding on board now with Luigi Moccia. Down the back straight we go. You can see just how hard we will have to brake. Sadly, we can't ride on board with them any longer than we did, but it would be very, very hard braking in towards that final corner. A little look up the inside there from Luigi Moccia. There is our race leader, the number 20 Italia course Cupra. When will they go into the pit lane? Because they are running out of time, of course. Side by side through the final corner they go. So it's Samuel Pichin on the left-hand side of your screen, Luigi Moccia on the right. Later braking up round the outside, which converts to the inside, and position change. So HC Racing 1, BF Motorsport 0 as it stands. So Samuel Pichin losing that place. Very tricky to defend in towards turn 1. So of course you want to carry the inside for the right kink, but that will become the outside for the more prominent left-hand right-hander. Or the left-hand 90 degree, that doesn't really make sense. The left-hand turn, I should have said. And we've still got Samuel Pichin trying to do what he can to chase Luigi Moccia down, but there's nothing really he can do there. Still just about within touching distance, but I think at this stage in the race, until either we see a driver change or the track evolves to maybe slightly different conditions, or the cars pit once again to get a fresh set of tyres, we aren't really going to see much of a difference between the pair of them. Italia course still out and circulating at the head of affairs. There is the number 64 Elite Motorsport car, now in the hands of Marco Butti, still in theory leading the race. Luigi Moccia has got that position made and very much secure now through the final corner once again. You can see, having only made the overtake at the start of the lap, there is quite a sizable amount of fresh air between the pair of them, so it has allowed Luigi Moccia just to work his way forward. Samuel Piccin running out of time really to do anything about that, because as his rival works his way into the distance, there's nothing much he can really do about that. Into the pit lane is the number 17 NOS car once again. A lot of attention going to that car, potentially some sort of issue. The leader is into the pit lane, the number 20 Italia Corse car, no surprise there. So Alessandro Burton will get into that car. And with a lot of attention going on towards the bottom of the pit lane, and NOS engineer running down there as well, potentially some sort of issue with that number 17 car. It does have Francesco Lacino behind the wheel, taking over from Nicolo Loya. Of course, we heard from Nicolo just a little earlier on. You can see brakes steaming on that Italia Corse Cupra, as per the expected. Very heavy braking zone in towards the final corner. To turn 15. Brakes definitely steaming there. Thankfully no fire. So it will be Alessandro Burton getting into that car, clambering in. The leader's working his way. The leader's still sat stationary. There goes Francesco Lacino, retaking to the circuit after the issue evidently solved by the NOS mechanics. So next time we will get an update on the whereabouts of the race will be as and when the drivers return to the circuit and break the timing beam once again. It's just all down to how the drivers can manage this strategy, manage their tyres towards the end of the race. Now, like I say, we are over halfway, 1 hour and 5 minutes of the race completed. There is Andre, just walking around the car, making sure everything is still in order. Down off the air jacks goes the number 20 Italia Corse car and retakes to the circuit. Got to keep an eye out for the number 64 machine. I thought I saw the number 20 car rolling, but it just came down off the air jacks. Final checks being made before they can then retake to the circuit. Here is the number 64 coming towards the line now to take a lap back off themselves. So Marco Butti breaking the timing beam now. The number 20 rolling in the pit lane, I believe. I thought it was a very well driven stint. The car maybe not quite taking to the circuit as quickly as I'd expected. So the Elite Motorsport car still working its way through the first sector of the circuit. The BF Motorsport car now crossing the line, the number 69 in the hands of Paolo Palanti. Quite the gap has built up between the pair of them. So crossing the line once again goes the number 22 machine, that's Luigi Moccia, who's massively built up the gap to Samuel Piccin behind now. So the BF Motorsport Audi RS3 losing a lot of time, so can't really keep in touch with the fellow Audi RS3 up the road. Number 20 Italia Corse car has retaken to the circuit, I believe. A very quick pit stop, that has to be said. So if they've managed to do that, it's a very quick pit stop, and strategy has massively worked for them. There they are still in the pit lane. Timing has updated to say they are still back in the pit lane. Hard on the brakes goes the number 64 machine, Marco Butti, through the final corner for what will be his final time to get himself unlapped from the Italia Corse car. So through turn 18 he goes now to cross the line. That will be lap number 40 completed by our race leader now. So hard on the brakes through turns 1 and 2 they go. And it's still the number 64 machine just pulling away quite comfortably from all of the cars behind. I think the number 33 of Gabriele Giorgi and the number 6 of Jonathan Jacon are still nose to tail. They have been for quite a substantial amount of the race. There's very little to pick between them as it stands. I think less than a second. There is the battle. So Gabriele Giorgi under pressure through turn 6. Long left-hander with the slightly longer wheelbase Audi RS3 from Tcr Sport, currently being piloted by Stephen Jacon, just sat behind. Not too much to do in the way of attack. Of course, we've seen a couple of overtakes, but it's a very difficult circuit to overtake. Riding on board with the number 22 of Luigi Mocca, just slightly further round the circuit. But back to this battle we go. It's still Gabriele Giorgi leading this little duo. Stephen Jacon just sat behind again. It's such a difficult circuit to overtake. The only real opportunities are into turn 2, as we've seen, and turn 15 also, as we've seen this race. The Audi RS3 naturally quicker in a straight line. You've got to brake earlier, however, because you are carrying that surplus speed. Number 64 machine crossing the line to retake the lead. So we do now have the new leader taking back to the first place position. The Elite Motorsport number 64 machine currently being handled around Grobnik by Marco Butti. Crossing the line goes the number 69 car of Paolo Palanti to take up second place. And now we are looking at the battle for what was the final step on the podium. Out to the circuit once again goes the Italia Corse car, currently in the hands of Alessandro Burton. So presumably he will take the car to the end of the race, but this battle is now for the final spot on the podium. This is for third place. So Gabriele Giorgi in the VW Golf GTI, still just about hanging on to that place. Just up the road you can see only 2 seconds separating this battle and the number 69 car of Paolo Palanti. So we could see 3 cars all battling for their various spots on the podium. Potentially being held up a little bit there is our second place driver, with Alessandro Burton taking to the circuit. Cold tyres, of course, having just got behind the wheel of that Cupra. And now we will see what I think will be a 3-car race for the spots on the podium. A very good run going on to the back straight had Gabriele Giorgi, so they're still side by side, almost 3 wide at one point. The traffic does appropriately move out of the way. A little look up the inside now, a look all the way around the outside from the number 6 machine. That's Stephen Jacon trying to take up third place. That's all he needed. The car just in front to get slowed down and up into third place. So we now have 3 cars all vying for second, third and fourth on the road. So it's the BF Motorsport machine currently sat in second place for Paolo Palanti, who got held up a little bit by Alessandro Burton in the Italia Corsa Cupra, and that then allowed the domino effect to slow down Gabriele Giorgi, which allowed Stephen Jacon to work his way into third place on the road. Still 48 minutes of the race remaining, and with time to find behind the wheel of Gabriele Giorgi's car, because of course we've seen a lot of pace come from that car, but having been held up by some traffic, he's got all that work to do again. And with a bit more motivation, it looks like now Stephen Jacon is slowly starting to mount some pressure for second place. So the Tcr Sport car doing what it can to work his way up into second place. Of course, like I say, Stephen Jacon behind the wheel. He's only 17 years old. He is, as I quote, a promising rising star in the Italian touring car scene. So very, very quick, winning his TCR DSG debut at Imola in May 2021. So very, very quick lad behind the wheel is Stephen. Like I say, only 17 years old and really pushing forward. Like I say, winning that TCR DSG debut at Imola. He does compete with his brother Jonathan, also sharing that car, the number 6 Tcr Sport car. Slowly dropping back away now from the BF Motorsport Paolo Palanti Cupra up the road. Being careful not to fall into the grasps of Gabriele Giorgi. There we can see, I think that's live from race control. Everybody just doing a great job monitoring the circuit as best they can, making sure nobody's extending the track limits too much. The Technodom Sport Car back fighting again with Paolo Palanti. So Stephen Jacon really pushing forward now. The second of the BF Motorsport cars, the number 7 of Samuel Pichin, somewhat out of place, down in 6th place. I was expecting to see him slightly higher up, separating him and his teammates a little further up the road. Is the number 22 of Luigi Moccia. But the lead gap 18.1 seconds now, and then only a second back from the number 69 of Paolo Palanti. We do have Stephen Jacon just sat behind the wheel, trying to do what he can to work his way forward. There we can see the number 22 machine currently being piloted by Luigi Moccia, just working his way past a little bit of traffic. That's the number 17 NOS car with Francesco Lacino behind the wheel. 45 just over minutes of the race remaining, and this gap, or this battle for the final couple of spots on the podium, has opened up a little bit. It looks like Paolo Palanti is just working into his own little bit of fresh air at the moment, happy that he hasn't got any dirty air to deal with or any traffic. But look how close Stephen Jacon is getting to the tail end, really starting to push forward now. You can see that is Luigi Moccia in the number 22 machine, looking to work his way past that lapped traffic of Francesco Lacino, with the indicator on, I think, off to the left-hand side, letting him know which way he wants to go. It's so difficult when you're very similar paced. Of course, all these cars are homologated to TCR spec, so they're very, very similar, very competitive on pace as well, as you'd expect. So even while it is a lapped car, it's difficult to try and work your way past. But the Elite Motorsport car up at the head of affairs, well and truly just extending that lead margin more and more. 18.5 seconds, another 4/10 gained on the lap prior. I think now we're going to see the overtake, a look up the inside, and no real defence there, of course, from the lapped car. So Francesco Lacino just allowing Luigi Moccia to work his way by. There is our leader crossing the line now to tick lap number 45 in the book. 45 minutes of racing remaining still. And there goes the battle for it's the final few spots on the podium. So it's still Paolo Palanti ahead of Stephen Jacon, who's trying to run away from Gabriele Giorgi, but it's proving difficult when you've got a car in front and a car behind. But the Cupra is still coming out on top as it stands, followed by the Audi, followed by the Volkswagen. So all of the drivers still nose to tail. It proves even with a minimised only 9-car grid, you can still have a really, really good race. And with strategy still to play for as well, it does allow a lot of unknowns in this race. Still piling the pressure on is Stephen Jacon. Just behind is, of course, still Gabriele Giorgi. Does know what he's doing in these TCR cars. He won the last race of the season. Overall, he won the overall last race of the season at Vallelunga. That was, of course, the 2020 season. Not just his class, the overall win as well. So, really good stuff. He did sit out due to an injury for the first 2 rounds of TCR Dsg Europe. So, of course, now he is back for the rest of the 2021 season. He was replaced by driver Carlotta Verdelli in Monza and Alex Campani in Misano. He does know what he's doing behind the wheel of these front-wheel drive race cars. Into the pit lane comes Stephen Jacon to hand over, presumably, to Luca Rangioni. Presumably he will be taking over that number 6 Technodom car. And he is going off the crash helmet. That does look like Luca indeed. Gabriele Giorgi, he does know what he's doing behind the wheel of these cars. In 2017 he became the Mini Challenge Light champion, so definitely knows what he's doing when it comes to motorsport. Out of the car clambers Stephen Jacon. We'll see whether that was Luca Rangioni clambering into the car. It did look like it going off the crash helmet. So now just sat getting everything plugged in, radio plugged in, seat belts suitably fastened, and tyres being swapped over. Yep, you can see the little 3 on the side of his helmet, which means he is the third driver. So into the car does go Luca. Mechanics working away, getting the tyres fitted, making sure the car is ready. Of course, you've got the pretty much hair dryers, so to speak, just pumping hot air, or cool air, pardon me, into the radiator. Because while the car is sat stationary, of course, it won't be able to get any of that cool air to keep the engine cool. So the last thing you want is some sort of mechanical issue due to overheating while you're sat stationary in the pit lane. So across the line went our leader just a few moments ago, lap number 47 complete now. The gap between himself and the number 69 BF Motorsport car is 21 seconds, so massively opened up that gap once again. The number 33 of Gabriele Giorgi can't really do much in response to the car in front. There goes Paolo Palanti, still pushing forward again, of course. You'll see the number 6 car dropping down the order while it is sat stationary in the pit lane. And a dominating race so far from our leader. There is the number 22 of Luigi Moccia, looking to work his way past some lap traffic. That's the number 20 Italia course car. There is our leader once again. Down in towards turn 15 we go. Hard on the brakes, getting the car slowed down suitably to get it turned in. 40 minutes of the race remaining now. Good drive so far from Marco Butti, of course getting behind the wheel after the first stint was driven by Gabriele Volpato. You can see the electronic board above the start-finish line indicating 40 minutes to go now. Crossing the line to go on to lap number 48. And the gap last time through was around about 21 seconds, so we'll keep an eye on that to see when the number 69 car crosses the line and updates the gap. Back down to the pit lane, however, because Beatrice, you have another interview. Okay, potentially we don't have that interview available to us, annoyingly, so sorry about that. I'm sure we will grab an interview a little later on. The Elite Motorsport car still out and circulating. The number 69 BF Motorsport car across the line once again, still around 21 seconds, nothing really gained. We do have that interview available to us, so down to the pit lane.
Technodome sports driver, one of the youngest on the grid. He did not have a simple stint. Steven, com'è andata?
È andata bene, ho sbagliato qua l'ultima curva perché sennò saremmo riusciti a stare davanti alla Seat della BF, però dai, siamo contenti così e va bene.
He actually made a mistake, otherwise he would have get past BF Motorsports Cupra, but despite that mistake, so far so good. Anything else to add? Niente da aggiungere?
No, bella pista, non pensavamo perché se ne parlava male, però alla fine è risultata una pista molto tecnica e ci siamo trovati a nostro agio, però potevamo fare di meglio questo weekend.
Regarding the track, he felt at ease. It was unexpected, but he felt like he could have done better this weekend. Grazie, thank you, Steven. Back to the studio, guys.
Thank you very much. Down in the pit lane, a quick word there with Steven Jacon, clearly quite frustrated with his mistake, not being able to get past Paolo Palanti. He feels like he has the pace to do so, just couldn't quite get it done after having that slight mistake, couldn't quite pick up on where that was. I know we saw Gabriele Giorgi with a bit of a mistake a little earlier on, just running wide out of turn 15. There is our leader, 21 seconds still the gap between himself and the car behind. So no real improvements from Marco Butti, not being able to pull away from Paolo Palanti. Or Palanti as of yet. So 37 minutes of the race remaining, 49 laps completed. And it still remains with the Elite Motorsport car in the lead. You're riding on board, bottom right hand side of your screen now, just making sure he's still comfortable. Is Marco Butti ahead of the number 69 of Paolo Palanti, and in third place it's the number 33 NOS car of Gabriele Giorgi, still out and circulating, having having got behind the wheel when Cosimo Barberini came into the pit lane and handed him the reins. In fourth place is still the 22 HC racing car of Luigi Moccia, and then the number 15 Elite Motorsport car is in sixth place. There is our race leader still out and circulating. Need to keep an eye on that number 6 car, of course, right the way down at the bottom end of the order. I think potentially still in the pit lane, still yet to retake to the circuit, is that Technodom Sport car. Of course, battling away for second place for quite a substantial amount of the race. Worked their way up from, I think, 5th place up to what was knocking on the door of 2nd place. Of course, Stephen Jacon quite frustrated that he couldn't quite grab 2nd place after a couple of mistakes. But so far, an unfaltered drive from both Gabriele Volpato and Marco Butti. Both drivers have driven a sterling race so far. The gap's still 21.8 seconds, so while it's not going up, more importantly, that lead gap isn't coming down. So for Elite Motorsport, they are very, very happy with that one. Back to a little battle further back, we have Samuel Pichin in the number 7 Audi, coming under pressure from Filippo Bensivini. So both drivers nose to tail once again. It seems like that is the general rule of thumb today. Elite Motorsport versus BF Motorsport. We've seen it at multiple rounds before. Of course, we're seeing it once again here at Grobnik in Croatia. So somewhat nose to tail. No real pressure from behind as of yet, but Samuel Pichin won't want to hang around, knowing full well that Filippo Bensivini is just sat behind in his VW Golf. So through sector 2 we go, then through and over turn 14 before we arrive at turn 15. A very heavy braking zone. Along the back straight we go, riding on board with our leader Marco Butti. You can see whereabouts on the circuit he is, going through turn 6, heading up towards the tail end of the circuit, and hard on the brakes. A big look up the inside from the number 15. So Filippo, a very big look. They're still side by side as they arrive at the final real corner. A little bit of a slight run wide there from Samuel Pichin. They're still side by side. The Audi is naturally quicker in a straight line, but it won't be when it returns to the pit lane. So Samuel Pichin returning to the pit lane. Eric Brigliadori presumably getting back behind the wheel, which does mean that Filippo Bensivini will continue on. You can see there that Eric Brigliadori getting ready, Hans device and helmet ready, and now it's just getting Samuel out of the car, getting the tyres changed, and then heading back out for another stint, the closing stint, the final best part of half an hour of this race. Seat insert removed, and Eric Brigliadori making sure the belts are out of the way before he clambers into that Audi RS3. There goes our leader, the number 64 machine. So Marco Butti still behind the wheel, and been a very clean race so far. I haven't really seen them put a foot wrong, just driving really, really well throughout. Still have Paolo Palanti sat there in second place, and with Gabriele Giorgi in third. Of course, we've seen Cosimo Barberini behind the wheel of that new old speedy Volkswagen Golf. And both drivers there have driven a very good race indeed as well. Of course, we saw Raymond Tersic manage to work his way into second place just before he got out the car and handed over to Paolo Palanti. And that gap has remained somewhat the same, maybe coming down over the final few laps, but 21.1 seconds isn't exactly a short amount of time, and with 32 minutes of the race remaining now, they are running out of time indeed to reel in that leader. There is the number 22 machine, Luigi Moccia still behind the wheel, going through the latter stages of the circuit. The clouds are definitely rolling in. You can see that it's becoming more and more overcast. No rain as of yet, I don't think. It'll be handy to speak to one of the drivers and ask whether they think the weather conditions are going to change, or whether they already are. There's a bit of rain towards the latter stages of the circuit. We'll have to try and figure that out down in the pit lane. But at the moment, crossing the line once again to go on to lap number 53 is Marco Butti. through turn two we go. Very unique circuit here at Grobnik. If you maybe haven't seen it before or haven't even heard of it before, it's here in Croatia, just down the road from Rijeka, a little local town. And there's an airfield just outside the circuit perimeter, and you can see riding on board with our leader now, Marco Butti, that there isn't massive amounts of runoff. There is runoff there, and suitable amounts of it, but just not too much. So if you make a mistake, it will come back to bite. You can see the camber of the circuit. Most corners it tends to work with you, so you can carry a lot of speed. A good camera angle there. You can see through turn 10 we're going through now. You can see that camber is really going to work with you, but other corners sometimes it works against you. There's lots of elevation change as well. So over turn 14, you may have heard me say a couple of times, because that's the biggest elevation change we have on the circuit, going over turn 14 and then back down the hill once again towards turn 15 we would go. Riding on board with Luigi Moccia, currently going through turn 6 towards turn 7 we would go. Very quick circuit is Grobnik. A lot of it is indeed flat out, especially in these TCRs. So crossing the line once again, almost 3/4 of the way there now. So crossing the line to go on to lap number 54 of the race. Almost an hour and a half into it as well, and still leading rather comfortably is the number 64 of Marco Butti. Gap last time through was around about 21 seconds once again, so we'll keep an eye on the number 69 machine of Paolo Palanti, wait for him to cross the line, and that is when we will see whether the gap has come down or gone up. It has indeed gone up, 22 seconds now, so the gap once again returning to where we were expecting it just a little earlier on. Paolo Palanti, he works as an export sales manager. He's previously raced with fellow Lombardy-based driver Ronnie Valori at Monza and in Misano, and sadly Palanti in Misano crashed out 30 minutes from the end of the race, which is what we saw earlier on when we were just loading into the stream. That's when we saw the incident. We do have an interview down in the pit lane, so down to you, Beatrice.
Eric Brigliadori in the car, and now Samuele Piccin here with me is out. Facciamo un bilancio di questo stint.
Bah, direi allora stint abbastanza difficile. Eravamo in crisi con la gomma adesso negli ultimi 10 minuti. Avevamo un altro problema dall'inizio, che abbiamo un sensore tra la quarta e la quinta che recepisce male qualche messaggio, quindi siamo decisamente in difficoltà. Non ho capito come siamo in posizione, però vabbè, diciamo che siamo lì, stiamo battagliando, quindi bene, dai, positivo.
It's positive that they're battling it out, even though there was some problem with the live timing, but it was a rather difficult stint as they had a problem with the sensor, and also the track is very, very dirty. A che risultato potete ambire in questo momento? Te la senti di sbilanciare?
No, direi di no, perché devo ancora guardare la classifica, devo capire come siamo. È chiaro che un podio sarebbe il top, però adesso cerchiamo un attimo di capire come siamo noi e come sono gli altri.
As for the result they can aim to, the best would be the podium, but they're still figuring it out. Grazie Samuele, thank you.
So a quick word there from Samuele Piccin. Eric Brigliadori now back behind the wheel of that number 7 Audi RS3. And still working forward there is the number 22 HC Racing Audi. Still with what I believe is Luigi Moccia behind the wheel. Simone Patrinicola having started that car. There we can see the number 6 machine with Luca Rangioni behind the wheel. Currently sat towards the latter stages of the order, of course having to make an extra pit stop with 3 drivers. Most of the teams only having 2. Back in the pit lane is the number 33, so presumably that is Gabriele Giorgi getting out of the car. Yes, it is indeed, you can tell by the overalls. And then Cosimo Barberini getting back behind the wheel, getting ready to retake to the circuit. Came into the pit lane in 3rd place, so making sure that they get the tyres changed as quickly as possible and the driver changed as well. Running around the car to make sure everything is in working order before that car can then retake to the circuit. It would be good to get a quick interview, potentially once again, with Gabriele Giorgi, just to see what he thinks of the circuit. Now it's evolved somewhat 60 minutes later from the last time we spoke to him. There is our leader once again, the number 64 of Marco Butti, Gabriele Volpato, with a very good opening stint. That just allowed Butti to continue on without too much of an issue. Potentially still with a pit stop to make. You can see the dirt being kicked up. As we spoke to Samuel Pichin, he did say that the track is very, very dirty indeed. And we're seeing it there. There into the pit lane is the number 22 machine. Once again, brakes pouring with smoke as the brakes get hotter and hotter and hotter. It's a very heavy braking circuit, the last sector in particular. So when you come into the pit lane after that last sector, it's going to get the brakes incredibly hot. Windscreen being cleaned appropriately. So presumably Luigi Mocha getting out of that car, Simone Patriniccola getting in. Leader crosses the line once again to go on to lap number 56 of the race. Some 2 seconds slower than the fastest lap they've set so far. So there is Patriniccola, sat behind the wheel of that Audi, getting ready to go. Yet more windscreen cleaner being applied. Just making sure it's suitably cleared from the windscreen before they can send that car back out to the circuit and back out racing once again. The gap to the leader has gone up from 21 to 22, now to 23.2 seconds. So BF Motorsport only losing ground as it stands. So Paolo Palanti not quite being able to keep up with that man there, Marco Butti, as much as he'd really like. Marco Butti is only 16 years old, born in Como, Lombardy. He's the youngest driver on the grid, and his father Fabio has his own team in motorsport. And in 2019 he switched to car racing from karting, tested out a Formula 4 in Valencia, and then in 2020 he was training on a Clio RS Cup car. And in 2021, this year, of course, he made his TCR debut in TCR Italy, and he scored various podium positions, and he's now moved on, of course, to TCR Dsg, so pushing forward with his career. It's great to see that he is doing so well behind the wheel. I think potentially the number 22 could see Luigi Mocha to the end of the race. Of course, we've seen it in the pit lane multiple times. Presumed Simone Patriniccola may have got behind the wheel, but it could be wrong. So just sat in the car in the pit lane, what we believe is Luigi Mocha, just waiting to retake to the circuit. We've got a few little battles going on out on circuit. No real battles for position. This is the number 20 machine for Italia course. Just about to get a lap put back over on them by the number 15 Elite Motorsport car with Filippo Bensavini behind the wheel. So Bensavini looking to the inside towards turn 15, can't quite get the move done there. The gap is being left by Alessandro Burton, but nothing as of yet. Going on to the start-finish straight once again. 23.5 minutes of the race remaining, 58 laps completed by our leader. And the local temperature is around about 13 degrees, so it has been cooling off as the day has worn on. So not too much in the way of cooling or heating indeed. So as it stands, the temperature, like I say, it says it's 13 degrees. That seems rather chilly. If I just update it, it says 19. So 19 degrees is more what I was expecting. Rather hot indeed. It's supposed to get to around 20, 21 degrees and then just sit back from there. So not really much track evolution in regards to temperature. Of course, it rubbers in over the weekend. Into the pit lane comes our leader, the number 64 of Marco Butti. Getting ready to get back into the car is Gabriele Volpato. Gabriele, a very quick driver. Of course, he did do that opening stint out of the car. Bambers Marco, and then radio disconnected into the car. Comes Gabriele, squeezing his way into the Volkswagen Golf GTI, and then it's just seat moved appropriately, and belt over the hands device, radio connected, and very shortly they will retake to the circuit. BF Motorsport, we will see whether they continue on. 20 seconds was the gap between the pair of them last time through. So the number 69 machine of Paolo Palanti, we'll see whether they follow the leader's strategy or do indeed return to the pit lane. So the car slams down off the air jacks and heads straight out to the circuit. Just a quick driver change, making sure that they complete their minimum and stay below the maximum driver limit. There goes the battle we were looking at a little earlier on, the number 15 of Filippo Bensivini trying to work his way past Alessandro Burton. I don't think that's a battle for position, they are just generally nose to tail. Yeah, there's a lap between the pair of them, so a real stress from each other. There's no pressure from either driver really, but they are out and just circulating together, albeit a lap between them. I think now, yes, we do see the change. So up the inside at turn 6 goes the number 15 Elite Motorsport car, just to get that lap back put over the Italia course machine. 21 minutes of the race remaining now. Our leader has retaken to the circuit. The lead gap will have definitely come down, but I do think Paolo Palanti will need to return to the pit lane. There is the number 17 machine, brakes steaming as per usual. So Nicola Loya potentially getting back into that car if Francesco Lacino has got out. We'll try and have a look at the helmet. So yes, that is Francesco Lacino out of the car. Nicola Loya getting back into that car. So Nicola will very shortly retake to the circuit behind the wheel of that VW Golf. We do have a new race leader. The crowd sat watching through the fences, attracting the camera, or attracting the attentions of the camera workers. The number 69 BF Motorsport Cupra is now in the lead. Paolo Palanti leading the way. We do have an interview down in the pit lane, so down to you, Beatrice, for another interview.
Luigi Moccia is in the car. I'm here with Simone Patrinicola. Simone, you said that you were actually planning on a different strategy.
Yeah, we took the risk to go for a strategy for the rain, so we were hoping that the rain was coming, actually didn't, so unfortunately didn't go as we wanted and as we planned. I think we are in 5th position, but there is nothing to do more now. It's just 20 minutes left at the end of the race. I don't think anything is going to change, unfortunately.
Were you happy with the car overall?
Well, not really 100%, as I said before. I mean, I made a mistake at the start, as I didn't see the lights and I missed like 3 positions. And then it was hard for me to gain pace, as the car was set for an intermediate setup, so it wasn't like very good for the dry condition, and I suffered a lot about that. But that's race, so there is nothing to do. We are not happy enough, I have to say, because we were planning to be at least on the podium, and we are 5th in the position, so it's not a good race for us.
Yeah, it wasn't even a good performance after what happened in Misano with the technical issue and the retirement.
Yeah, in Misano we were first, and then we were, there in the battle for the win, and we had a technician issue and nothing. A lucky season so far now.
Thank you, Simone.
So, hearing his disgruntled views there from Simone. As the race still continues on. 18 minutes of the race remaining now, so not too long until we start to see the race fall back together again. The number 15 has inherited the lead on the timing. How much I trust that, I don't know, unless we've seen the number 69 car return to the pit lane once again. So yes, the number 69 car is indeed in the pit lane, so the Elite Motorsport number 15 Volkswagen has retaken the lead. So that is, who I believe is Rodolfo Massaro behind the wheel. It could actually be Filippo Bensivini still behind the wheel of that Volkswagen. But in the pit lane is the number 69 car that had inherited the race lead. So Paolo Palanti potentially handing back over to Raymond Tersic. We will see in a few moments' time. Riding on board with the number 22 HC Racing machine, with Simone Pantricola behind the wheel. we do have another interview down in the pit lane, so back down to you in the pit lane.
Gabriele Volpato is back on driving duty. We have Marco Butti here. Marco, com'è andata finora?
Bene, molto bene, abbiamo fatto lo stint lungo. Siamo davanti con un buon vantaggio, circa 20 secondi. Stiamo gestendo, speriamo di concludere la gara senza problemi. Per adesso il team ha fatto un grande lavoro e siamo davanti, per cui bene. Ora vediamo Gabriele cosa fa.
They have a 20-second gap. They're running smoothly at the top. Now Gabriele is back. He says that the team did a fantastic job and so far everything is going fine. Vi aspettavate che cambiassero le condizioni meteo oppure appunto era tutto pianificato per l'asciutto?
Prima del mio stint, a circa 1 ora e 30, pensavo arrivasse la pioggia. In realtà abbiamo aspettato un po' girando in pista con Gabriele, l'acqua non è arrivata. Speriamo tenga il tempo, ma dai, ormai manca poco, per cui bene.
He's hoping that it will remain dry as everything was planned by the team, and he's hoping for everything to stay still as it stands. Thank you, Marco, and good luck.
Quick word there with Marco Butti from Elite Motorsport in the number 64 machine, who was leading the race for quite a substantial amount of time. You can see the sun is now beaming down on the Croatian circuit. Just sat behind the number 64 machine is now the number 6 of Luca Rangioni. So Luca slowly applying that pressure to who is in theory, I think, our race leader once all is said and done in regards to pit stops. So Luca making quite a difficult job for the number 64 machine. Luca made his debut in circuit racing right the way back in 1989 in the Italian Formula Alpha Boxer Championship. In 1993 he raced in the Italian Formula 3 Championship and won the title in 95 in a Dallara Fiat, so he knows what he's doing behind the wheel of a race car. He returned to the newly named FIA World Touring Car Championship in 2006 for Pro Team Motorsport in a BMW 320i as well. So he's driven a real range of cars, single-seaters, touring cars. He's raced with a raft of drivers, so he knows what he's doing, especially when it comes to door-to-door battling. Riding on board with the number 2020, or with the number 22, sorry, HC Racing machine. But we do have another interview, so back down to you, Beatrice, in the pit lane.
I'm here with Paolo Palanti on BF Motorsports Cupra. He's looking for redemption in this race, and so far it's going well.
Yes, it's going well. We wait because it's not finished yet, but okay, I finished my stint. Was good, regularly. Was good, not so fast, but constantly. So this is important. Now I hope that my teammate Raymond finish in the best way. I think that we are in second or third position, depends after the pit stop, and I hope so. So we have to wait.
How is your relationship with your new teammate?
Raymond is very smart guy. Very happy to drive with him, and first of all, he is a local driver. He knows very well this track, and what is important because he learned me a lot of things from Friday to today, and okay, he's very fast. I hope so.
Thank you, Paolo. Good luck. Back to the studio.
Quick word there from Paolo Palenti from BF Motorsport in that number 69 machine. Great to hear from all of the drivers as the race wears on. There is the number 64 machine for Elite Motorsport, still under pressure from the Technodom Sport Audi RS3 being piloted by Luca Rangioni. So with only 12.5 minutes of the race remaining, we are very quickly closing up on the final few minutes, and back down to the pit lane we go, Beatrice, with another interview.
I'm here with Filippo Benciveni, one of the youngest drivers on the grid. We saw during the stop that there was a hole on the glass of the car. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I can't explain because it's not mine, but it's from my mate. Probably in the start of the race, some of the other in front of him. But here we are. I drove like 1 hour and I think more long. And yeah, very tough track. It's very hard to drive here, but I gave everything, and let's see how we go.
Are you happy so far with the redemption after 2 unlucky races previously?
Yeah, I'm very happy, and let's see. I've taken, I think, 2 positions, so I gave a lot, and I'm full.
Thank you, Filippo.
So a quick word there from Filippo Bensivini, or from the number 15 Elite Motorsport team. Of course, they are currently running in their VW Golf GTI, currently at the head of affairs as well. So very good job so far from themselves, doing exactly what they need to do to secure quite a nice position when it comes to the end of the race. So still pushing forward. Not too long left of the race now. It's just down to the drivers managing those, managing the tyres, managing the fuel, making sure that they can get to the end of the race. Just over 10 minutes of the race remaining. Still looking at this battle between our top 2. So the number 15 car has dropped away now into the pit lane. So too has the Italia course number 20 machine. That has also returned to the pit lane, the Cupra. So you are, in theory, looking at the battle for the overall race lead. The number 64 Elite Motorsport car still leading the way with Gabriele Volpato behind the wheel. Then it's the number 6 Audi RS3 of Luca Rangioni just sat behind, almost there, within a second almost, of our leader. Then you get quite the jump back to the number 69 BF Motorsport car. Looks very favourable for the top step of the podium earlier on in the race. Couldn't quite piece it together. So Raymond Tersic just behind the wheel of that car. The top 3 somewhat settled as it stands, but can't really rule out that number 33 car. Cosimo Barberini has been incredibly quick throughout the day, and with a brilliant stint halfway through by Gabriele Giorgio, he has been absolutely on rails for this race. Fastest lap of the race for the number 7 machine, apparently. I think it was Eric Brigliadori who has set the fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 31.192. So that is some 6/10 quicker than anybody has gone today. So somehow that Audi RS3 has found a lot of pace in the latter stages of this race. Number 7 currently sat down in 6th place. So it seems like all the potential has been found at the wrong time. So maybe not quite as yet. We are going to see the race settle down. If they're finding that sort of pace towards the latter stages of the race, we could still find a couple of changes of position. So Simone Pantalini-Cola behind the wheel of that number 22 machine, quite the way down the order, in 5th place. It's still the lead gap opening up once again. It was rather close between them as soon as they returned from the pit lane, but now they are back out and circulating. It does mean that the gap has opened up once again. So it's Luigi Moccia behind the wheel of the number 22 machine for HC Racing in 5th place. 8 seconds adrift of the car in front, the number 33 of Cosimo Barberini in the VW Golf GTI. We're still looking at this little battle between the number 15 and the number 20, so that while they are a lap apart, they are very similar on pace, to the point where they are quite literally just battling away amongst themselves. There is our leader, the number 64 machine. And there is the 2nd place car, currently a couple of seconds away, 2.7 seconds away from our leader of Gabriele Volpato. So Luca Rangioni doing what he can to reel in the leader. Across the line comes the number 33 of Cosimo Barberini, 31 seconds away from our leader. You can hear the underside of that number 15 Volkswagen grazing the curb, so running as low as they can to try and gain as much benefit from the setup as possible around here. It's only 7 minutes of the race remaining now, so very little time. There is the leader once again, just more or less sat in the wall of their own. The gaps have massively opened up. The closest cars we've got on circuit are in fact for 5th place. So the number 7 BF Motorsport machine of Eric Brigliadori, currently sat in 5th place, potentially coming under pressure towards the latter stages of the race from the number 22 HC Racing car. So that is Luigi Moccia in the grey and Dayglow yellow Audi RS3. A pair of those two getting closer and closer together. The leader crosses the line once again, going on to lap number 66 of the race. 1 hour and 54 minutes of racing completed now. So the final few laps on their way. I'd say we'll get about 4 more laps out of this race. But it's still the number 64 car leading from the front, 3.4 seconds clear of Luca Rangioni now. So that Volkswagen has really had the pace throughout the entire race, never really looked back at any point, whether it be in the hands of Gabriele Volpato or Marco Butti. They have been very quick. At the moment, I think it is Gabriele behind the wheel of that car, the driver that started, potentially being the driver that finishes as well. In the background, you can see a little bit of traffic, maybe slightly hindering the number 6 machine, so Luca Rangioni getting stuck behind Alessandro Burton in the Italia Course Cupra TCR. So that'll be music to the ears of Gabriele Volpato in that lead Volkswagen, just allowing him to have a bit more breathing room into the latter stages of the race. We have now seen the change of position there, of course, not an overall change of position, just another lap put upon the Italia Course car by Luca Rangioni in the Technodom Sport Audi. Crossing the line once again, 2.6 seconds the gap between our leader and second place, and we do get quite the drop off back to third place then in the 69 BF Motorsport car with Raymond Tersic behind the wheel in that Cupra. It's only 4.5 minutes of the race remaining now. We could potentially get, when I said 4 laps, we could actually get 5 laps, so 4 laps from now potentially we could get out of this race, depending on the pace of our leader. Of course, the last thing he wants to do is start really slowing down. He hasn't got enough time in hand to do that. He can ease off, not take as many risks, but he's just got to be careful not to give up too much time to the car behind. The battle I was hoping to look at was the battle for 5th place, but it's massively opened up now between BF Motorsport and HC Racing. There's no real pressure there. So the closest cars we have on circuit are, in fact, our lead duo. So Elite Motorsport still leading the way. There is the number 64 machine of Gabriele Volpato, doing exactly what he needs to do, up at the head of affairs. No real pressure from in front or behind to make or lose time, so he'll just continue on turning his laps, sitting in the rhythm, coming across the line now to go on to lap number 68 of the race. So with just over 3 minutes of the race remaining, we will get 3 more laps from now, I do believe. So the gap last time through, 3.2 seconds now. So he is pulling away, is Gabriele Volpato, extending that lead margin over Luca Rangioni. Doing exactly what he needs to do, really. Of course, still pushing forward. A little further down the order, of course, that number 7 car with the fastest lap of the race, presumably in the hands of Eric Brigliadori. Eric knows what he's doing. He is the son of a team owner and manager, Emiro Brigliadori, and he races in TCR Italy. He's 21 years old, so still got plenty of motorsport years ahead of him. He won the 2020 TCR Italy title, but eventually lost it after PMA Motorsport appealed a penalty. So not quite what he would want, but he has shown he does have the potential to win titles. So his 2020 successes didn't quite go his way. His 2021 successes at the moment will finish him in 5th place, but with the fastest lap of the race, it shows he does have the pace over a lot of the field as well. So Brigliadori potentially with a bit more time to find, a bit more luck to find as well. Coming towards the line now, we will get 2 more laps of the race done. So it's around about a 1 minute 33 lap time at this stage in the race, 1 minute 32 if you're really quick. And with still 1 minute 45 seconds as they cross the line, of course we will have a few more seconds to spare. So we will have another lap to complete. 3.1 seconds the gap now between 1st and 2nd place, so 2 hours of racing has led only to a 3.1 second lead. It just shows how close endurance racing can be. I've seen it much, much closer, but with only a 9-car field, it is very, very impressive indeed. 19 seconds back from our leader is 3rd place, and then we get back to the 33 NOS car of Cosimo Barberini. We've seen a lot of action from that car this weekend, and it's nice to see it up in 4th place. Then we get back to the number 7 machine of Eric Brigliadori, as previously mentioned. Ticked past the final minute now, so currently on lap 69. We will finish the race on lap 70 of the race, of the 2 hours, pardon me. So now over turn 14 we go, and heading up towards turn 15. Very, very heavy braking zone at turn 15. We've seen a lot of action there throughout the weekend, not only in this series, but also in the NASCAR Wheel and Euro Series and the Twingo Cup, that are the support series this weekend here. So through the final corner for what I believe will be their penultimate time, 30 seconds or 25 seconds remaining on the clock. And towards the line comes Gabriele Volpato, still with another lap to go. Crosses the line to go on to lap number 70 of the race. 3.1 seconds was the gap last time through between 1st and 2nd. This time it's 4.1 seconds, so really extending that lead margin. And I suppose if you are in that number 6 machine, if you are Luca Rangioni, there's no real need to take any unnecessary risks at this stage in the race, because you know full well it's going to take quite a sizable mistake or an off potentially from the car in front. So there's no real need to push forward. You can just ease the car home and take the 2nd place, which of course is a massive achievement. It's very well driven. 2 hours of racing leading to only a 5-second lead is very impressive indeed. But on the final lap of the race now, it is the number 64 Elite Motorsport car working its way through the middle sector of the circuit for what will be the final time, through turns 10, 11 and 12. Really is a very unique circuit. I'm starting to really like it, because there's so many different changes and little unknowns of the circuit, which somewhat build a formula for some very, very close racing, of which we saw that at every point in the race, the start, the middle and the finish of the race today. But for the final time, down in towards turn 15 is our race leader, Gabriele Volpato, coming towards the line now through the final corner for the final time here at Grobnik. Round 3 of the Tcr Dsg Europe season here at Grobnik in Croatia will be won by Gabriele Volpato. Checkered flag wave. Teams are celebrating a very well-driven race. In 2nd place comes the number 6 machine of Luca Rangioni. That car shared with Jonathan Jacon and Stephen Jacon, both brothers. And then to round out the podium, barring any further issues, for the number 69 machine will be Raymond Terzic. Raymond Terzic crossing the line now, 16 seconds behind our leader. 4th place is Cosimo Barberini in the new old speedy VW Golf GTI TCR. Crossing the line in just a few moments time. And then in 5th place, you just saw it there across the bottom of your screen, Eric Brigliadori crossed the line to finish in 5th place. So top 5 somewhat settled. Very well done to Elite Motorsport. Very well driven race indeed. And in a few minutes time, of course, we will be down there for the podium celebrations. So after 2 hours of racing here at Grobnik, we saw the lead gap come down to 3.9 seconds in the end of it, barring any slowing down, of course, from our eventual race winner at Elite Motorsport, just pulling over to celebrate with the team at the end of the race. but a very close race nonetheless. We saw some brilliant battles throughout, and I think the final driver just crossing the line now, that is the second of the NOS cars, Francesco Lacino, in the bright yellow VW Golf GTI, just crossing the line there. 2 hours of racing completed, 71 laps completed by our leader, and our eventual winner. Fastest lap of the race goes to the number 7 machine. I think it was Eric Brigliadori behind the wheel at the time, with a 1 minute 31.192. A very well driven race from that car. I think deserved better when it came to the end of it. So we will have some post-race interviews for you in a few moments' time, as well as some race highlights as well. So we'll run you through the highlights now, if we have them available. I'll be able to talk you through the action. So there is the number 69 machine. That at the time was Raymond Tersic behind the wheel from the start of the race. Really did start to lead from the front. We saw some great battling up and down the order. Then it was the number 64 of Gabriele Volpato. Just found the absolute bit between his teeth. There you can see Volpato down the back straight, just absolutely in the zone. Side by side over the start-finish line went the both the Audi RS3s at the time, Stephen Jacon and Samuel Pichin. And in towards turn 1, battling once again were Pichin and Jacon. Into the pit lane, however, came the BF Motorsport Audi RS3, Samuel Pichin making room for Eric Brigliadori, or the other way around. And then into the pit lane also follows the number 6 machine, Stephen Jacon, getting behind the wheel after taking over from brother Jonathan. So a very close race throughout, and the strategy continued to play a part. Into the pit lane came the number 15 machine. That was the Elite Motorsport VW Golf, Filippo Bensivini, getting into the car after Rodolfo Massaro took hold of the first stint, with the damage on that car as well. Quite a sizable crack on that front windscreen. And then we can see the HC Racing Audi RS3 of Simon Patrinicola managing to work his way up another place. And for quite a sizable amount of the race, we did have the Italia Corsa Cupra leading the way in the hands of Andrea before he got out of the car and handed over to Alessandro Burton for the final few laps of the race. Brakes steaming seemed to be the norm throughout this race. All the way around the outside, however, went the number 6 machine, Stephen Jacon, really working his way forward, managing to get past Cosimo Barberini, but couldn't quite throw everything at it to get past Paolo Palenti. A quick insight into the race stewards, so they can literally see everything going on. You can't get away with anything. Riding on board with the number 22 of Patrinicola, all over the tail end of Nicola Loya in the NOS number 17 VW Golf. Into the pit lane once again for the final time came the number 6 Audi, Stephen Jacon making way for Luca Rangioni to finish that car, get it across the line nice and safely. There goes the number 7 machine of, at the time, Samuel Pichin, all over the tail end of another car. We do have interviews, I think, down in Parc Ferme. Down to you.
Winners of the Grobnik round. I'm here with Gabriele Volpato. It was a perfect weekend for you.
Yes, we did the pole position, the fastest lap, and even the winner. So I'm very happy. We did a perfect work with the team, with my co-driver, with Butti, and so I'm very, very happy.
Thank you, Gabriele. Can we have a word with Butti as well? You can come here, Marco. Marco, as I was saying to Gabriele, you're wrapping up the perfect weekend. How is it looking for you in the championship?
Perfect. My English is...
You're done? Finiamo un po' in italiano, facciamo un commento finale.
No, è andata benissimo la gara, abbiamo vinto, abbiamo tenuto la testa praticamente dai primi 10 minuti di gara. Gara tranquilla in controllo e molto bene, la prima insieme a Gabriele, per cui sono contentissimo.
He's very happy because it was the first race with Gabriele, the chemistry was there, and he was very happy also because they managed to control the race from the beginning to the very end. We're moving on quickly to Technodome Sport. I'm here with Stephen Jacon and Luca Rangoni. Luca, please come here. Abbiamo fatto una gara veramente estenuante, però è un risultato importantissimo in ottica campionato.
Assolutamente sì, era la cosa più importante. Dobbiamo pensare prima di tutto al campionato, quindi siamo partiti. Nel primo stint abbiamo visto che facevamo un po' fatica a livello di trazione e tutto. Abbiamo messo a posto qualcosa a livello di pressione e quant'altro, e la macchina dopo si è reso molto veloce e poi dopo quando sono uscito che eravamo lì vicino con Volpato, cioè, si vincono i campionati e quella è la cosa più importante.
It was a very important second place for the championship. They're looking obviously at the championship, so it will be a long shot, but they're working on it. It was a very good battle with Volpato as well. They were catching up at the end. During the first stint, he actually struggled, but they did some adjustments on traction and on the pressure, so it is definitely a satisfactory result for them. And Steven, una parola con te, visto che sei uno dei più giovani, he's one of the youngest. So, che tipo di progressione hai avuto? Sei sempre più a tuo agio al volante di questa macchina. Come descriveresti la tua stagione?
Beh, io sono partito con la prima gara a Imola nel Coppa Italia e ci siamo trovati abbastanza competitivi in tutti e due i campionati. Poi siamo a corto poi di esperienza, soprattutto io, però ci stiamo facendo la mano.
Grazie Steven, he's gaining confidence. He actually made his debut in TCR racing this year with Coppa Italia Turismo and in parallel with TCR Dsg Europe. So it's a good progression for the youngster. We're wrapping up this post-race interviews by going to BF Motorsport very swiftly. Paolo Palanti and local driver Raimond Tercic finished on the podium. It's the first podium placement for them both. Raimond, una battuta velocissima, sei a casa tua, sei nel tuo ambiente ed è arrivato questo podio di cui mi avevi parlato ieri.
Sì, una gara fantastica, una macchina perfetta, un team eccezionale, non potevo chiedere di più, davvero la gara era ottima, all'inizio è stata bellissima quando eravamo tutti assieme, ho fatto anche in primo giro una uscita però mi sono ripreso e è andata tutto bene. Grazie ancora al mio team, ai miei sponsor, al mio pilota collega. Spero di vederci ancora.
We hope to see you two again. Thank you, Raimond. It was actually his first time on the Cupra here, but that's his home race, that's his home track, and everything was as perfect as he could wish. He said he couldn't have asked for a better result. If we can get Paolo very quickly. Paolo, just a final comment with Paolo. Do you have your mask? Thank you very much, Paolo. Well, it was actually redemption after what happened at Misano.
Yes. At the end, yeah, we reached the podium, and this is the first good result. Also for me, for TCR car, is the best result. Thanks to Raimond. Together we really had a good race, and at the end, third position is okay. The front of us are really two. A big team and strong, but okay, I'm very happy, and now it's okay. I cannot say anything more.
Thank you very much, Paolo. Congratulations, and congratulations to all the top 3 drivers at the end of the Grobnik round. It was a pleasure reporting for you from the pit lane. Back to the studio for the closing.
Thank you very much, Beatrice. Down in the podium area and down in Parc Fermé. Thank you very much everybody for watching along. This has been round 3 of the TCR Dsg Europe series here from Grobnik in Croatia. My name is Jack Rowell. I've been running you through all of the action. So once again, thank you very much for watching along. We hope to see you very, very soon. Bye bye.